Hopefully you guys are thinking somewhere along the same lines that I am when it comes to Anthony Fauci. I think that he's kind of a, well, not even kind of, I think he's quite a hack, and he just keeps shifting the goalposts in order to keep everybody under this constant malaise of fear and always trying to control the population by making sure that this pandemic lasts as long as humanly possible. And, well, don't quite have it in frame yet, but there it is. Yeah, he's snuggling up to his new best friend Biden because he's going to be a part of his new administration. He's going to stay on in the same fucking role that he has. I don't know why the guy hasn't really done anything other than lie to the public and then go and walk it back, but then he stays on his same talk shows every day, and he has his little Sunday slots all carved out. And we had another little worthless interview where he talked to your fucking run-of-the-mill doomer CNN audience. Well, with this, Biden is correct that the worst of the COVID-19 pandemic is yet to come. Just keep telling people that. Just keep feeding into the fear machine and making sure nobody's lives ever get better, and just continue with the fucking lockdowns and just wait for, regular human beings, patriots, to come on out and fight back against you, and just continue to stoke those fires with your calls of never-ending mask mandates and never-ending lockdowns, even the WHO, who we are going to look at here in a minute, has explicitly told you that it's a terrible idea. Anyways, the US is headed for the worst of the coronavirus pandemic in the weeks ahead as Americans see the effects of the holiday travel boom, Dr. Anthony Fauci said early Sunday. Of course, fear, 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 fear. Fauci, a member of President Trump's, it's being led by Mike Pence as well. Coronavirus Task Force told CNN's State of the Union that he agreed with not quite President-elect, Joe Biden's warning that cases are expected to surge as a result of families gathering for the holiday season. But I thought she said that everybody was going to be locked down, and you're not supposed to gather indoors. Like, even up here in Alberta right now, you're not supposed to have any indoor or outdoor gatherings. Yeah, go fuck your mother with that one. Ugh, it's just disgusting. But all of those lockdowns are just supposed to work. It's not like we didn't learn anything from... Oh, actually, yeah, we didn't learn anything from March and April with all of those destructive, worthless lockdowns. All you're doing is just pushing all the infections further into the future. And now there's vaccines. There's several vaccines. But it's never enough. It's never enough. With hospitalizations over 120,000, we really are at a critical stage. Yeah, we took a look at the numbers specifically for Edmonton, or not for Edmonton, Alberta. For Alberta, Ontario, and I've listened to something from the UK as well. Around 10%. 10% is what the critical care, the long-term care beds are being filled up with coronavirus patients. People who have been hospitalized in relation to coronavirus are only taking up 10% of those fucking beds. And as you can see, 10% is nowhere near close to 100% capacity, or even at the point where we're going to be experiencing any sort of overflow. It's just dumb. It's just dumb. It's worthless. But he won't tell you that. 120,000 people looks like a scary number now, doesn't it? But once I qualify it by saying only 10% of beds are actually being taken up, and that vaccine is right there, and we shouldn't be locking down like this. But I guess if you're being optimistic, that doesn't sell papers or doesn't push viewers to watch a dying platform like CNN. Anyways, he said before adding the Christmas gatherings, even though we advise not to, it's going to happen. He went on to predict that the distribution of Pfizer and Moderna's COVID-19 vaccines, and Johnson & Johnson's coming out with one very shortly as well. In the upcoming months, U.S. health experts should see a general population release significant herd immunity by the end of the summer. Oh, really? Because at the same time that, he's also shifting the goalposts on what he would consider to be herd immunity. And before we get into this, we also got to take a look at what his overlords, the WHO, who's being significantly funded by China, and we don't need to get any further into that. The WHO doesn't even want to acknowledge the existence of Taiwan, because if you can remember an interview that one of the heads, I forget who it was, some corrupt fucking bureaucrat, he wouldn't even acknowledge a reporter asking a question about how Taiwan was responding to the COVID-19 pandemic. He went on to ignore her. She asked for clarification and then was promptly disconnected from the call. That is a future we can look forward to, not answering questions and then just getting rid of the people asking those questions. What a beautiful future. So according to the WHO, what is herd immunity? Herd immunity, also known as population immunity, is a concept used for vaccination in which people can be protected from a certain virus as a threshold of vaccination is released. Now, it's important. Vaccination and herd immunity, they tell you that it only requires the antibodies. Okay? You can get those antibodies through vaccination, and you can also get it through transmission of the disease. Okay, that requires a certain amount of the population to have those antibodies, and as you can see here a little bit further in the definition, the percentage of people who need to have antibodies in order to achieve herd immunity against a particular disease varies with each disease. Well, tell us the relevant one. For example, herd immunity against measles requires about 95% of the population to be vaccinated. People still get measles, guys, and we don't lock down the fucking country, and the measles has a significantly worse reaction than COVID does for most of the population. The remaining 5% will be protected by the fact that the measles will not spread among those who are vaccinated. For polio, the threshold is about 80%. Like I said, yeah, 95%. So why isn't it 100%? Why isn't herd immunity 100%? It's because the likelihood of people becoming in contact with other people who would also be carrying those viruses with them becomes so low and so minuscule. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's any sort of variation on how these viruses mutate in order to change the rate in which they are transmitted. It just means that the likelihood of them actually getting the disease is pretty much out of the park, astronomical, and it's more likely to get struck by lightning on the way to cash in your winning lottery ticket than to actually transmit the disease. It's hilarious how, yeah, they don't even have any concrete numbers here. And it's like, okay, so herd immunity, lockdowns be bad. It's the WHO doesn't know what to do. But good news, we have the world's top doctor, Dr. Anthony Fauci, to the rescue, folks. Dr. Anthony Fauci admits he was not entirely forthcoming with the numbers. Oh, that's not the first time, but we'll get to that in a minute. With the number of vaccinations required for herd immunity in an interview with the New York Times. Okay, so he was on CNN, then he was talking to the New York Times. This guy only takes softball interviews. Cool. That's what we want from somebody who's supposed to be a tough authority on this sort of situation. Fauci, who celebrated his birthday on Thursday. Oh, that was another thing that Biden and whatever, Dr. Jill Biden said, oh, we're going to rename Christmas Eve Dr. Fauci Day and go ahead and sing him happy birthday. Ugh. I know my life was happier when I didn't know this guy's name. Anyways, when polls said only half of all Americans would take a vaccine, I was saying herd immunity would take about 70 to 75%. Then the newer survey said about 60% or more would take it, and I thought I could nudge this up a bit, so we went to 85%. The guy is a fucking liar, and we should never listen to anything that comes directly out of his mouth. I will only listen to the experts, by the way. He initially said estimates of 60 to 70% were based on early data of the virus, and once again, it just continues to mutate because this is a coronavirus, okay? A coronavirus, because this whole world has become so politically correct, to take a line out of an early 90s comic. But because we aren't calling it something like the bird flu, we aren't calling it something like the swine flu, we're just calling it something so basic like a coronavirus, because a novel coronavirus is a type of virus. We all pretty much know this at the point. It would be the equivalent of saying that farmers raise mammals. Well, it is factually true. It is not specific enough in order to elicit any sort of specific details as to what the farmer actually does. And by calling this a novel coronavirus or just the coronavirus, it does a disservice to the SARS virus that's out there. It does a disservice to the bird flu and the swine flu that's also out there. There are different kinds of coronaviruses. And if we go into the future, let's say that there's going to be a COVID-25. Hopefully it's not that soon. Hopefully it's never going to happen again. But what do? You just go ahead and start calling that the coronavirus again because everybody who had COVID-19 just ended up dropping dead? That's not happening, by the way. He later admitted that, here's why you should never believe a word that comes out of this fucking unethical lump of shit again. This would not be the first time that Fauci has not been entirely forthcoming with the public. In March, Fauci, who directs the NIAID, I forget what that stands for, nor do I care, dismissed masks use to prevent the spread of coronavirus. He later admitted that masks were helpful and only claimed otherwise to prevent the public from stocking up on protective equipment to protect the diminishing supply and reserve for their first responders. Yep, exactly. And like he says there in the beginning, I nudged the numbers a little bit to make it a little bit more politically advantageous for us. And I said that thing about the masks in order to make sure that our people were taken care of. Fuck the public. And that's pretty much his stance. And that's how I pretty much view anything that comes out of this little Geppetto head's mouth. And I thought it was important to revisit this whole coronavirus talk because moving out of the Christmas season and moving into the New Year's Eve season, I hope everybody had a terrific Christmas and you spent time with your family and you didn't let this never-ending lockdown spree, this never-ending vaccination talk, mask mandates, all of that garbage shit affect your Christmas, and hopefully it doesn't affect your New Year's Eve plans. I'm not one for partying. I'm going to be down here yelling into my microphone, yelling into my webcam, making sure you guys are informed with all of the hot takes that are out there, and I've just never been one for parties anyways, so I'm just the coolest dude alive. I do so much fun stuff. Anyways, don't let these fear merchants cloud how you're going to be spending the rest of your holidays. Just enjoy them to the best of your abilities, and that's how we're going to leave it today because, hey, there's a few more hours left in your weekend. If you guys got to go back to work here between now and New Year's, do enjoy that. And also, I'll be there to inform you just in case. And also, if not, if you get to lockdown, funny how that just becomes a common terminology out there. Now, if you guys are shut down between Christmas and New Year's, you have a great business and you probably have a great boss as well. And hey, we're there to keep you informed in the evening. Anyways, guys, I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.